Welcome everyone to A&I Wealth Management for our Lunch and Learn College Funding. We're happy to have today with us Phil Harper from College Invest. A little bit more about it. You're in the right place. If you found us on Zoom, welcome. And we'll be, as I mentioned, hearing from Phil about how to talk about preparing for college financially. Not feels very overwhelming with rising costs, which I'll be talking about in a bit. Organizations like College Invest parents on their journey. We are recording today, so everyone on mute and also their pictures are showing. So we're protecting your privacy that way, but you will have an option for Q&A at the bottom. We encourage you to ask questions and be involved and answer those questions at the end. So click chat if you have a question. Welcome. And as I mentioned, Bill Hugo here, I'm a career and solutions over 20 years as products, work investment, and first work on College Invest. Brought his knowledge and expertise to College Invest and implements that expertise work every day. Truly cares about deep and meaningful relationships with advisors. So we'll hear from Bill in minutes. I did want to present a little bit of background. Again, my average organizer. Be talking a little bit about the college landscape today. 2025 is very different from when I was finishing high school, almost 40 years ago now. And so I wanted to just bring everyone up to the case story. So I was a few decades out of the high school experience. College has changed a lot. Funding has changed a lot. And families think about plans for preparing for and actually pay for college. So we'll be looking first at a little bit of data from Morgan. They have gathered, I think, tremendous national data on what college results in, which we also for the children and loved ones that will get a job. College today is a crucial stepping stone to getting a job. I can see here the difference between average salaries with high school graduate or with high school degree, bachelor's degree, and graduate degree. So it is staying worth it, even with the higher cost of college today. We can see that you get a tremendous return on that investment. Aside from the social benefits of having your kid now begin to learn some independence and maybe your own family preference and value of education, it does literally pay for itself multiple times over. So that's the kind of good news and the bad news. Next slide, please. The bad news is the colleges know that they are providing you with more income over your lifetime than if you didn't get a college education. And as you can see here, college tuition has had some of the most intense inflation of any category. In fact, an average of 5.6% over the past several decades, received a 900% increase in tuition. So if you were in college in the 80s or the 60s or the 50s, it's very, very different today versus how it was perhaps when we were in school. And as you can see, medical care, which we all know goes up quite a lot, obviously worked by the increase in tuition. And again, that's partly because going to college does result in a positive earning profile over your lifetime. So colleges are really pushing to see just how much they can charge you to get that benefit. Next slide, please. How are we paying for college? As prices go up, we're not actually seeing the colleges give more aid. So what I find interesting about this slide is on the left, it shows inflation just in the last 10 years. So that's 10 years. 2013 to 2023, we've seen a 31% increase in tuition. We've only seen financial aid go up by 3%. So if you are a parent, I can just tell you that you are caught right in the middle of those two charts. You are getting the pinch. If the price is going up and the aid is not going up at a similar amount, you are being asked to pay more and more. Next slide, please. What are your solutions? Oh, well, your kid could get a grant. Oh, well, your kid could get a scholarship. Oh, well, your kid could be a great athlete. Just gotta share that those aren't really the whole solution. It's maybe part of the solution for some families. It may not be a solution for your family at all. Grant reality as of 2 years ago, the average amount of a grant was $5,381. That's usually merit. Not money you have to pay back, but not a really large number when you're looking at tuition today and room and board, etc. For scholarships, we're looking at about $6,600. So the reality of scholarships is not full ride. It's not, covering everything. It's one part of multiple parts that you're going to be using to pay for college. You don't need to focus on the numbers here, just the shapes. We're looking here at average athletic scholarships. So you have tremendous, travel team, volleyball player. And you're probably paying around $6,000, maybe more per year for that excellent club experience. And in college, if your daughter plays D1, or your son rather plays D1, or your daughter plays D1, they may get $21,000 a year. A very small number of people are actually D1 athletes, but even that is not a full ride. So just keeping in mind the reality of D2, and then as you know, D3 don't give athletic scholarships. So there's about 2% of high school students who do get some kind of scholarship, but again, not the full amount. So you're starting to see how the college landscape in America right now has really had pretty rampant inflation. People are still getting jobs that pay more over their lifetime as a result of that investment, but there's not a lot of support on how to pay for it other than pretty much keep it there. Good for you. Next slide. This is a really key formula. Again, you don't have to memorize the numbers on the slide. The general ballpark is a quarter of your income and 5% of your assets. Now, the good news is some of your assets are invisible. Your retirement accounts are visible. Your primary home is invisible. And while your 529, which Bill's going to talk about more, while your 529 is visible, it's only considered 5% available for school. So no, having 529 will not reduce your chance of getting aid significantly. And it is visible, but it's only considered 5% available. So looking at that formula, you can start to figure out for yourself, would we be eligible to get need-based aid? It's a quarter of your income. How does that compare to the price of your school? Need-based aid is based more on your income than on your assets. Go to the next slide here. Again, no need to memorize the numbers, just a lookup chart to show, for instance, what options a family might have. We're looking at income. Here in this example, $150,000 income for a family with no assets. They're still expected to pay about $25,000. So if they're looking at a school that costs $25,000, we're not that income. And you can see that if the family earns just a bit more, their expected family contribution, or SAI, student aid index, moves up to $33,000. So 25%, $25,000 increase in your income results in an $8,000 increase in your perceived ability to pay. Now, can you really pay that? Maybe, maybe not. But that's how the formula works. And that's kind of the landscape of getting a need-based aid. On the next slide, 529s, which Bill's going to talk about now, are really essential part of how families prepare for college. The 529 accounts in Colorado can be used to pay for your computer. Be used to pay for room and board when you're on or off campus. Be used to pay for tuition, fees, books, and anything really that college is charged. You cannot use it in Colorado to pay for K-12 education. In other states, you can. Also in our state, you can't use it to make, it does say on here K-12, but this is a JP Morgan slide, not Colorado specific slide. You cannot use it to pay for travel. That's kind of an essential thing. I think sometimes people use your college fund to pay for that plane ticket to study abroad. Get one to Madrid this year. You cannot use it to pay for travel. You can use it to pay for study abroad, but so 529s are an essential part, and families are leaning on them more and more for a number of reasons, which Bill will go into. I'm going to hand over to Bill now to talk about 529s and how they fit into your overall.
Thank you, Dan. Hello, everybody. I'm glad to be here today to talk to you all a little bit about how you can save for your child's education. I always like to start it off with a story from me. Okay, when I was growing up, my dad put some money away in what's called a UGMA account. That was way before 529s. But, one of the things is he says, I will pay for your college if you can pay it forward to your daughters. And so I did that, and I think he got the best end of that deal. So, because the cost of college has gone up exponentially. I mean, it's like right now, I think is hovering right around 100 grand if you want to go to CU. And in 18 years, it's going to be right around 250 grand. And I don't know about you, but that was way more than my first house that I ever bought. So you can see why this is the biggest worry of parents out there. Because even instead of the retirement, you only have a finite time, 18 years to save for an education. You have 40 plus years to save for a retirement. So the biggest thing that, individuals need to understand is that there is a program out there, and our program at College Invest, what they do is we got 4 different products that you'll be able to use. You can go to 2 more slides. So we do all of the 529s in Colorado. So Scholar's Choice is managed by Nuveen. They're an excellent manager. You can base it on when your child's going to college. It's kind of like target based. Direct Portfolio is index-based investing. So if you want to be a little bit more flexible, Vanguard runs that. They're a very powerful manager out there. We're lucky to have them. And then Smart Choice and Stable Value Plus are going to be more of your money market. These are going to be ones where you may want to put your child's 529 in there when they're maybe a year away from graduation. That way you can take a lot of the market volatility out of the equation. Next slide. Key benefits. One of the biggest key benefits is flexibility. There are no income restrictions. There's no age restrictions. And then there's also no, age, income, and time restrictions. So, it used to be with the UGMA accounts, at year 18, all that money transferred over to the beneficiary. And that's no longer the case. So with 529s, I love the time constraint, because if you go through and you still have money left over at the end of your 4 years, you can you have complete control. You give it to another beneficiary, or you could use it for master's programs. And even, you can roll it into a Roth IRA, which will get your child, basically a jump start on their career as far as saving for retirement. The potential tax advantages are huge. I mean, for the owner, Colorado has one of the largest tax advantages in the country. For a single taxpayer, it's $25,000 a year. Sorry. And then if you're a joint filer, it's $38,000. So, there's a lot of opportunities for you to, use this as a state tax deduction for the owners of it, whether you're a grandparent or you're a parent. It gives you one control, one flexibility, and you get this tax advantage. But the biggest thing about 529s is tax-free growth. Put the money in, it's growing tax-free, just like your retirement plan. So, as long as you can get that tax-free growth, you're going to have more money at the end, because you're not paying any taxes on those, that portfolio. And as I mentioned, the tax deduction against the AGI. So that's where the individual tax limits are. And you get tax-free, as Cameron mentioned, you get tax-free distributions for qualified higher educational expenses. And that could be, like she said, books, computers now, anything that's involved with the university, then you could use it qualified plan. As she mentioned, though, you can't use it for airfare and stuff like that. But, one of the biggest things that I found was that they say, well, what about room and board? That's the biggest expense of college. And you are able to, if they're not living on campus anymore, you can pay for their rent up to the amount that was on the campus. So, so if it's $12,500 a year to live on campus, you can actually use that and take the money out to use it towards paying rent for your child. And one of the biggest misnomers is you can use this money nationwide or worldwide. I mean, I'd say 98% of the universities, you just got to go to FAFSA and look and see which ones are qualified. But I mean, it's such a high number. It may even be 99% right now. So, I don't know about you, but when I was getting out of school, I love Colorado. I was born here, but I just felt like I wanted to get away. I don't know what it is with kids. They just say, I want to go to ASU, or I want to go to USC or Florida. And I ended up coming back after a year and a half because I love Colorado so much. So, the cheapest way to pay for school is to have your child do in-state. So, and we've got some excellent schools here in state. Now, this is one that a lot of people ask too, is that you can use it for trade school. So if they want to be an electrician, if they want to be a plumber or anything like that, then they can basically use the qualified plan to basically pay for that. So, and all you have to do is just, again, go to the FAFSA website and just see that, they do qualify, but a lot of them do. Key benefits, control. As I mentioned before about the UGMAs and stuff, 529s, the best thing about them is control. You as the owner, you have control on where these assets are being paid out. If you only want them to pay for books, you can just tell your child, I'm only paying for books this year. You're in control of the beneficiary. You can change a beneficiary up to up to 2 times per year. So, to give you an idea, one of the things about the beneficiary is nice is that if you're the owner, we have our CEO, Angela. She hasn't had grandkids yet, but she knows she's gonna have some here in the future. So she opened a 529 and she's the control. She put herself as the beneficiary so that, when that comes, she can transfer the beneficiary over to the children. So, generous contribution limits. So each beneficiary has up to $500,000 they can contribute to a 529. So it's very, very generous. First Step program is one of my favorite programs. It's just to get kids started. If you have grandbabies or you have kids that were born after 2020, it's an excellent opportunity because when you open the account, you automatically get $180. Then if you put in $500 a year, we're going to match for 5 years. So that's up to $2,500 that you put in. We're going to give another $2,500. That's an excellent jumpstart to an education. Yes.
That's parents that can do this.
Yeah, only the parents can do it. But, grandparents, if they want the parents to open it up, they can fund the kids for that. So now we also have it for small businesses. If you have a small business, you can add this as a benefit to your employees so that they can enroll in it, and they get a 20% tax credit for employers up to $500 per employee. So I'm Bill Haregrove, but I'm going to probably turn it back over to Cameron here. But if you have any questions, I'd be happy to go deeper into it. I know, there's a lot of information that was there, but, just make sure you put it in the, question area.
Thanks so much, Bill.
Thank you.
A lot of expertise, a lot of great detailed information about Colorado's plans, which I think are some of the best in the country, and they are a little different than other states' plans. We're looking through the Q&A, and if additional questions have come in. I know we had some that were and that had been submitted earlier, so I'll just start with those. I think they'll answer the first one, which is, can we use 529s to pay for schools out of state? Absolutely. My son went to university in Australia. You can use them to pay for schools. And as Bill mentioned, the FAFSA website is actually the kind of the place to check. They'll list every school that you could potentially send your FAFSA to. You don't have to fill out the FAFSA to use your 529, but that is the list. Their list is the list of all the schools that are considered institutions that you can use 529 with. So it's a really, really long list. It is exportable and sortable. So I sorted it by Australia and saw there were I think there were 39 schools in Australia that have used our 529 with. So I think that's one of the biggest myths I run into when I'm talking to people is they think that if they use a Colorado plan as a Colorado taxpayer, that their kid has to go to school in Colorado. Not true. Those are separate decisions. Second question we had was, does having a 529 account affect our ability for financial aid? Mentioned that briefly. Your 529 assets are visible, but they're only considered 5% available. So if you have $100,000 in a 529 plan, the university is going to assume that you're going to use 5,000 of that to pay for school. Are you only going to use 5,000 of it to pay for school? Oh, you're going to use a lot more of it. But universities assume you can use 25% of your income, and that may not be something you can just step away from and have your family budget work the same. Keep in mind too that these are per child, and it doesn't matter to the FAFSA calculation if your kids are in school at the same time. So if you had 2 kids in school at the same time, you might be looking at paying anything between 50% and 100% of your income for tuition. Again, maybe you can do that, maybe you can't. That's just how. Our third question was, how do I use a 529 in my overall college funding planning? Kelsey, did we have any other questions come in?
We do have one online. We've got somebody asking, for the $500 a year match, are there any actions required by the parents other than making the annual contribution to get that match?
The only thing that you would have to do is you have to put in an application, and then there's a separate application for the First Step program. But all you have to do is put in $500. So you could put in $1,000, you're still going to get a $500 match for that year. And if you look at it out, it's like $3-4 a month that you put in there just to get the free money. And we do this because we want to get kids started earlier, and it's not from taxes. It's basically our private. So that's what we do there. So, but.
Okay. And one thing to keep in mind on that is the First Step program is available for all children born after the 1st of January 2020. So we're looking at kids who are 5 and younger. So if you have your own children in that age bracket, or if you have friends and neighbors who are in that age bracket, absolutely spread the word. I don't know of any other states or any other programs that give you up to $2,500 without writing an essay. So one additional document that we have, I don't know if you're able to flip to that page for the people who are online, and it's out to folks who are not online. The question that we got was, how do I use a 529 in my overall college funding planning? And I'll go through this quickly, but I'm happy to speak with folks about it as it pertains to their situation. Every kid in America who's heading to college has 5 sources of money. No matter how wealthy or how financially challenged you might be, there's 5 sources. And 529 is part of the first source, which is parents. So 529, when we're looking at how do we pay for all 4 years of college, we look first at the 529. So that's savings. What have you done up till now, if anything, to save? The next part of parent contributions is cash flow. What can you cash flow when your kid is at college? My son is more than 100 miles away. He's actually 10,018 miles away. So we were able to drop his coverage on our car insurance. Now, as a teenage boy, our insurance company was very happy to charge us about $300 a month to have him added to our cars. We dropped him as quickly as we could once he left, and that $300 was $300 of cash flow that I could then channel towards school. 12 months a year, 4 years was another source of cash. My grocery bill also went way down when I didn't have a varsity athlete eating me out of house at home. So So we were able to find without making other adjustments, about $500 a month. So that's the cash flow part of it. And then we also have other, which might just be money you have lying around. That would just be money that you could allocate to that. For families earning between below 180,000, the American Opportunity Tax Credit is about $2,500 a year that you can get back on your taxes that you could repurpose to use to pay for school. So that's another $10,000. The parent section is usually the first most powerful section that we look at for paying for school. The second category is parent loans. I like for that to be 0. Third category is our student resources. Has your student saved any money? Been gifted any money? Do they have any money that they're going to be using to pay for tuition, room and board, and fees? Or is all of your students' money just going to go to spiritware and pizza? That's kind of a family decision. Student loans, I'm not anti-student loan. I like to see loans that are not in excess of 1 times their expected earnings. What does that mean? Okay, well, you're studying education because you want to be a teacher. Starting salaries in Colorado are about $50,000 for teachers, depending which part of teaching you're doing. So we wouldn't want you to borrow more than $50,000 over your whole 4 years to get that degree. You want to keep the amount borrowed in a pretty tight relationship with the amount you're going to earn. So with those 4 sources, parent savings and cash flow, 0 parent loans, potentially student contribution, and student loans that are linked to their career goals. Those are the 4 sources, and the last source is either grandparents, other help that might be, for instance, some employers offer scholarships, so that would be where that kind of wild card category comes in. We add up all those amounts, and as you can see, the 529 is kind of the workhorse of this funding strategy. But we're looking at using that all those sources over all 4 years. So your total might be 50,000, it might be 100,000, it might be 150,000, it might be more. We divide that by 4, and that's sort of the price range we're looking at for school. We think about it in a similar way to how we might think about shopping for a house. There are a million realtors out there, and they would love to go house shopping with you, but none of them will talk to you until you've been to the bank to get pre-approved. So this is our way of linking family resources and student career goals to the total spend on college. That doesn't mean you can't go to Duke, but if your budget per year is $51,000, you need to get Duke to come down to $51,000. I always pick on Duke. I don't know why. I've never even been there. So no school is off the table, but it does give the family a lot more control over their planning and their college search process versus going to visit a campus, falling in love with the rec center, because they all have fantastic rec centers, big hot tubs, and kind of experiencing what the colleges want you to experience, which is, oh wow, I really want to be here. And then parents, they have to take out big loans or stop saving for retirement in order to make their child's dreams come true. I don't subscribe to that model. I think that it's a family approach, and we can get a realistic sense, for college without robbing retirement, that we actually set our kids on a great path. Any other questions coming in? Yes.
I got a couple. First question, is there any relationship that you've seen between like the cost of your education and starting pay? Like if a college costs double another college, is the starting pay double? Do you get way more bang for your buck moving up market? Like,
right. I think that's a great question. I think the larger answer is there are other factors that matter more. There's some effect, relationships and so on. But the larger data that we're seeing is your choice of major matters much more, and whether you graduate on time. So ending up at school for 5 years, that 5th year is actually really expensive, because not only are you not working, you're missing out. Let's say you're a business major and you're going to make $55,000. You're missing out on that $55,000. You're also paying tuition, which if that's $55,000, that's $110,000 a year. That's super senior year. So normalizing of a 5th year, I think, is can be very, very expensive. There also aren't many federal loans for that program or for that fifth year. And yeah, so college major choice has a much more significant effect. One other thing when you're looking at colleges is that that 4-year on-time graduation rate. Colleges will often post an on-time graduation rate, but sometimes they define it as 6 years, which I think most parents don't think when they're looking at that number. They think on-time graduation rate means 88%. 88% of these kids are done in 4 years. And you look at the fine print, it's like, oh no, 88% of them are done in 6 years. Oh my, well, that might work for you. It might not, but it's a good thing to know. So when you're looking at on-time graduation rates, be sure you look at the fine print or ask the college. How do you calculate your number? Does that kind of help?
It does, thank you. I got two more small ones. If you don't spend all the money in the 529 plan and you're looking to transition it into a Roth, do you have to abide by the Roth contribution limits, or can you just move it over?
You have to abide by the Roth contribution limits. That's a really, really good question. I can double check on whether the student's income can exceed the Roth income limits, or maybe you know that. I mean, the Roth income limits are pretty high, and it's very unlikely a student would be earning too much to contribute to Roth. But for people under the age of $57,000 is the current limit. So the max you can take out of 529 and direct specifically to a Roth is $35,000, but it would take you 5 years to do that. And don't forget, the account has to have been open for 15 years.
Okay.
So your student may be a little bit older, so then fall into some of those earnings.